Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session of Rise Career Wise Get Hired Virtual Summit 2020. And I have with me somebody who's super energetic, super excited, and a very, very brilliant HR professional. Priya Thakur Singh works with Pioneering Ventures, which is a food finance and technology company. So, without delaying any further, I'm going to add Priya to this platform. Priya, thank you so much for making the time to join us.
Thank you, Vinny. Thank you for inviting me for this session. It's all my pleasure to be part of this.
Thank you. Tell us about yourself, Priya, and a bit about your responsibilities at Pioneering Ventures and also about the process of hiring in your industry and your company.
Thank you, Vinny. My name, as you mentioned, is Priya Thakur Singh. I come in with more than 18 years of experience, worked in varied industries, ranging from manufacturing to finance, that's BFSI, banking, financial services industries. That is, I've had an experience in insurance, have had an experience in hotels. Now, I guess after some point in time in life, you realize that you need to go and give back to society. And now I am with an organization called as Pioneering Ventures. It's a company which is into food finance and technology. This is based out of India and Switzerland. The main mission of this company is that we want to reinvent the Indian food ecosystem, which can provide people with healthy food in sustainable manner. So we strive to generate superior financial and social returns for all our stakeholders through knowledge and data-driven transformation from farm to fork. So this is done by re-engineering the way food is produced and supplied and empowering and connecting all partners in the ecosystem. So there is, we work very closely with farmers. We produce more than 450 tons of healthy food that reaches about 1.5 million consumer. We engage with 15,000 plus farmers in the country. Our geographic footprint is in about 8 countries, and we have more than 750 employees currently working with us in both on our payrolls and on contractual payrolls. So so that's about us, and we are growing. We are on the path of growth. So we currently looking at expanding our base in the country. So currently working on hiring in this pandemic, where most of us are hesitant in terms of investing on people. We believe in investing in people in this time because I guess as much as we will have an impact on the society right now, it will be a benefit for both, for the society as well as for us. So here we are.
Fantastic. So there's this very interesting perspective that came up. Like you said, you are the ones who are hiring in the pandemic where people are either not hiring or selectively hiring, or to say the least, perhaps could also be letting people go. What I want to understand is, because you've worked with a lot of large corporates and you've had this startup experience, and so you've done a whole range of things. Very interestingly, I would like to know, what is the difference in the kind of people you hire for each, like for the larger companies or for companies which are raring to go but not in the league of thousands of employees?
So, there is no mantra in terms of hiring people. I guess one of the common thread which I have identified and noticed while working through my career of 18 years is attitude is something which you really look in people. You can teach work, you can teach technology, you can teach everything else, but integrity and attitude is something which can't be taught. So if you have a right intent, then it is you can go ahead and teach people the basic ground rules of the game. But if attitude is right and then there is a zeal to learn, then I think that is the deal breaker or a deal clincher for me. Because I've interviewed possibly more than 1,000 people in my lifetime, and in that I realized that no knowledge, no degree can replace the attitude. So if you have an intent, then I guess that goes a long way. So we've known stories of right attitude reaching up the stars. The MBAs, the IITians. It's important, but at some point in time, that takes a back seat. Your attitude really matters.
Brilliant. And you've also had, of course, given this exposure, what are some of the key learnings that you've had in hiring practices? What are some of the things that, if you share with us, will also help those who are looking for jobs and also those talent acquisition professionals who may want to imbibe these practices?
So, the practices are same across the universe, I guess. You have your, requisition raised, you have your recruitment process manuals been made where you define, what kind of people you want in an organization, what competencies should match. But yeah, competency match and individual match is very important. Because if an organization is running towards another end, and if their employee does, and if an incumbent does not match with the competency of the organization, it will be a clear failure of the organization as well as an individual, because the both ideologies don't match, the both competencies don't match. So it's important that the competency match is very important, and that's something which I have realized in long run, that beyond a certain protocol, the organization should know what are the competencies they need to work with, and what are the competencies they need to hire incumbents with. So it's very important that there should be a competency match. The second thing which is very important these days is the background verification. Somehow nowadays, there is a lot of emphasis been put on background verification, because of a lot of systems which help you build false records and all of that. So background verification plays a very important role, and organizations are very cautious of what kind of talent they are acquiring, from a criminal record point of view, from a legal record point of view, from even for that matter, civil records. If you have had any fraud, or if you've not paid your loans and you've been on a lookout by a bank or a legal authorities, eventually the organization, because most of the time the office address has been given to the banks. So, the organization then gets a lot of calls basis that. So background verification also plays a lot of interest, nowadays. Otherwise, it's the same. You have your aptitude test going on. You have your panel discussions, panel interviews, technical rounds. So those are something which has been there prevalent in the industry for the longest time. But some of the things which are a highlight these days is background verification and competency match. So these two things are very important these days.
I think that's a very brilliant piece of information. Really, really, I think something one should watch out for. We keep talking about a digital footprint, but also I think sometimes it's not just the quality stuff that you put out. Sometimes it's important to really just put out there, because it's easier to put credentials to the person.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're absolutely right. The trend I have seen lately also is a lot of people come with a lot of qualifications. In fact, I'm interviewing, of course, because I run a startup, and we've set up this entire portal on learning and leadership. I'm interviewing a lot of people, but they all, when they come for interviews, they seem way more prolific and proficient and qualified than I have been in the last 23 years of my career, or many of the seniors I have worked with. And then you dig a little deeper, and then it doesn't even scratch the surface. Yeah. And like you said, maybe that's where these qualifications, I think online it's so easy to just sign up for anything and then come up with a qualification, that it's becoming more and more important to focus on the more quality and the more recognized credentials and authority.
Yeah, because eventually now emphasis is also on employer branding. So you really don't want to attach yourself with somebody whose records are not great. Now in the social media age, it's so easy to get trolled on any social media site. If anything goes wrong with one of your employees, and the entire organization gets pulled into it. So you need to be really extremely cautious in terms of what kind of talent you are hiring in the system.
So we don't want high-strung people also, basically, is what I'm beginning to sense. No, really
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, I keep hearing about different kinds of hirings. Like there's contractual hiring, then there's payroll, then there's like, please tell us what are these different kinds of hirings and what are the benefits of or drawbacks of each?
So, technically you have two kinds of hiring. One is on rolls and one is off rolls. Off rolls, you'll have, third party hiring, contractual hiring, consultant hiring, all of that jazz. The only difference between an on roll employees and off roll employees are that you give benefits to your on roll employees. Benefits like PF, gratuity, insurance, leaves, you pay on their leave. So all of that benefits are there when you're on roll employee. When you're an off roll employee, you have limited benefits like your leaves and such, but you wouldn't have your provident fund, gratuity, insurance, all of that spelled out in your contract. And there is a pro and con in both the aspect. In off-roll employees, you have a lot of flexibility as well. So you can take one and more job, but on-roll employee, you, because of the benefits and all of the agreement attached to the appointment, you can't really go and have a dual employment. So both of them have pros and cons of it. But people in this country, in India, prefer to be on rolls because there's a sense of security. Even though in this pandemic we've heard so many other stories where even though people were on rolls but they were laid off. But even if they are laid off, if you're an on-roll employee, you get benefits of 3 months salary. Your insurance is still covered for the entire year and all of that. So the impact is a little less, whereas an off-roll employee, you just need to give 1 month notice and you say thank you, we don't need your services. So in the same breath, I would say it's equally what works for one, actually they go with that. But in India, the focus is more on being on the roles of the organization, because you have sense of security and because of the benefits attached to it.
So have the recruitment parameters and formats always been the same so long as they are industry and role aligned, or have the competencies seen a transition in all these years that you've been an HR professional? Do you think they've changed seasonally in the course of your career also that you may have seen?
Like any process, even recruitment process has evolved over a period of time, because I think the entire society for that matter has changed. The trust levels have changed. How we believed in people also have changed. The organizations have changed. There are a lot of MNCs which have come because now the FDI rules are so strong that if you falter at one place, your license have been taken, are revoked, and you are sent back to the country you come from. So because of so many changes in the government, in the tax regime, in the running a business, so many things have evolved, and likewise even recruitment has evolved. Earlier it was very simple. People, there used to be an ad in newspaper. People used to come, apply, interview, and they were hired. So there were no no big processes which were drawn saying that okay, you need to have an aptitude test or you need to have an attitude test. Now all of that has started. Now all of the competency mapping, competency based interviewing skills have started. Now you have also you're so cautious that you do not go ahead and offer till the time your background verification checks are clear. You don't go ahead hiring without having 3 references in place. And all of this is not something which has been static from past 18 years. It has all evolved. There has been a step added at every stage. Many and more times what happens around changes the system. So for instance, in hospitality, for that matter, there is a lot of references which happens. You have a lot of reference hiring because the world is extremely small of hospitality. Whereas in an insurance or in a banking, you go ahead and you hire from consultants, you hire from by posting an ad on a social media, you hire from varied references, but your focus is not only reference, wherein in hospitality your focus is majorly in reference and the internal database you have. So different industries have different ways of attracting talent. Likewise, currently I'm in agri organization right now, which is into agriculture, technology, finance. And it's a varied a plethora. So each industry would have a different way of hiring. So there's an IT company which hires like an IT company. You have technical round, you have project given saying that how would that person work as a full stack developer, so on and so forth. Wherein in a financial services, you would have different kind of people hiring. You have a salesperson, you have a risk guy who's so important in a financial organization. So all of their hiring would be at different levels. Wherein in agri, again, because the industry is so small and it's still not in that organized space, so there's still a lot of references which comes in. You still have those important people in the market who would know people who would do that kind of work, wherein those people will not be easily available on your portals, or they have really been headhunted by consultants many and more times. So different industries would have different ways of attracting talent, I would say, uh, uh, in this current scenario.
Okay. What do you look for when you hire a team then?
I look only at attitude.
Wow.
I don't look at, many and more times, I don't look at which pedigree that person comes in, or, how much that person, the only thing which I focus on that person is how true that person is been with himself and his career. And the other thing which I look at a person is how has he envisaged himself or herself, uh, you know how has he envisaged his career in long run. So if he has a clear mandate in his head and does not have a fancy degree, I don't care. I just want to hire somebody who can who can come in with the right attitude, who can fold up the sleeves and say that okay, I can take it on, because that matters. Everything else, HR, as I say, is something very easy. HR can't be taught. HR has to be fed. Technicalities can be taught, and that you can teach them through books, through online on-job training. But I can't teach attitude. So if I don't find somebody right in attitude, I would not hire that person.
Okay. What is better for undergraduates according to you? Because, when we grew up, it was very simple. It was just like a few verticals, but now people are into so many different range of courses and degrees. So BMS, BCom, as I see and I hear the people talking that BMS is supposed to be a lot more advanced than someone who's just a BCom grad. Is there some kind of light that you can shed on this?
So, because now the world has become so fluid, it doesn't matter if you do BCom, BMS, BMM, or any fancy degree, they just teach you the basics and fundamentals. Eventually, what you want to do is something which you need to be clear in your head. And nowadays, Vinny, I can assure you, kids are so intelligent that you don't have to tell them, because they themselves know that what is right for them, what is not right for them. So it doesn't matter what they take till the time they know what they want to do. So even if the person must have done a fancy engineering and MBA, but eventually goes and becomes a music director, So that doesn't really change that what that person has done and how much percentage that person has got in 12th. It's been 18 years. Nobody asked me how much did I get in my 12th standard, or how much did I get in my graduation? Did I do a BCom or an MBA? MBA certainly people ask at times, but people have never asked me what have I done, what have I majored while I was doing graduation. So, I guess it's just that you need to be clear what you want to do, and once you're clear, you know what will lead where. So it doesn't matter.
Lovely. I like what you said about this generation, and it is true. I think this generation will change the world for the better, hopefully.
I can cite an example. I remember a couple of years back, I was there on a campus for hiring. There's a guy who walked in for a job, and when I asked him what are your interests, he says, I do DJing as time pass, as a part-time thing. I play in a club nearby. I'm like, then why don't you go ahead and pursue a career? So he mentioned that because my parents are not very comfortable. And I remember asking him, are you comfortable? He's like, I'm more than happy to pursue that as a career. I'm like, then you need to convince your parents and just go ahead and do what you like. Because even if I hire you, your heart will not be in what I'm hiring you for. Your credentials look amazing. You've done a fancy degree from a fancy institute, but eventually you will not enjoy what I will ask you to do. You rather invest your time what you like to do. Eventually, if things don't happen, you always have a fallback plan. But the first step is you need to do what you like. So I think this generation will also try and teach society to be a little fluid, to be a little open-minded in terms of acceptance of choice of career. Because there's so many learned people going back to farming, going back to agriculture, going back to society, and wanting to give back to society and make earning out of it. So I think this generation will change a lot of perspective for most of us.
For sure, what you just said, I think for us it was get your security in place, do all the right things, and then you can follow your dream. And now you just said first is to do what you like, because you've got the degree as a backup option. You can always go back to the job, but pursue. I think, that's a big, big, big shift. Priya, tell me, what would you advise someone who has looked to pursue hotel management and there is a large industry there and they were completely preparing for that career? What will be your advice? Because you've also been the HR director of Marriott before you joined Pioneering Ventures. So I'd like to understand what is this trend that you have picked up in terms of what's going on and what can this lot do currently, because everything is shut, and even if they're opening, it's in very select measures, whether it's cloud kitchens, whether it's home deliveries, but hotel management in general, the entire hotel industry at this point is fairly at a standstill. So what would you tell them?
It's not only hotels, but many other industries also. But, I still want to give them a hope, saying that the industry is reviving slowly, steadily. It's going to come up. Possibly by mid next year, you would have some sense of, hiring coming in, or some sense of security for people who've lost their job. Because eventually people like traveling, people like to get away. Our generation is so used to cutting off from work and running and staying in a hotel for a staycations. In this pandemic too, staycations have started in the hotels. And for that also, to run a hotel, you need, you really need army of people. It's not that, hotels will not have jobs. In this pandemic too, there are so many other hotels who are opening new hotels. So I know of myself, there are about 5 to 6 hotels opening up. So there is some sense of jobs which are available in the market. But like any industry, hotel certainly has got a hit, like an airline, or any other industry. Hospitality in consolidation has got a hit, but it will pick up. It's like 2008 where the downturn happened. it hit everybody. Everybody was low lying for about a year, and after that, everything started turning around. So I think hotels will revive. The students will, they themselves are coming up with so many innovative ideas of home kitchens. And now people are so scared of even going out and eating, so people have started ordering from home kitchens. So all of these students have also got into the venture, something as small as home kitchens. So people will find their way. There'll be lot many new avenues as we speak, for in hospitality, so I'm not worried about that, because it's a pandemic which has hit everybody, and hit everybody really bad. So I guess by mid next year, we should have some traction in terms of job market in hospitality. So it's just wait and watch. Currently, there are young kids who are out of management schools. They'll figure it out themselves what they have to do. But the job market will be up and shining possibly by next year, because people will get a way of sense of security once they start moving out, travel, because safety measures is something which has been highly propagated by all the hospitality chains. So once people have that fear out, and now which we've been seeing in general life, where the sense of fear from COVID is not there, so people have started traveling in bits and pieces. I think by next year mid, we'll have more traction in travel industry, and possibly they'll be up and running. So I have I have no sense of insecurity for them, because we've had such big blows when Jet shut down, or where about 15,000 employment gone in like a jiffy. But people figured out the way around that. So they'll figure out the way around this.
Great. What would you tell someone who has just recently been fired from their job?
I would just tell them, have patience, look around, because in adversities, you get to know that what all you can do. So I have seen so many people around in adversities who were laid off. They were low for about a week, 10 days. After that, they had to figure out, because they had a family to sustain. And they have gone ahead and done things which they wouldn't have done in normal time, because there was sense of security in terms of getting paid every month. Now, because you've pushed against the wall, they have looked at other avenues. So for instance, in hospitality, for that matter, there were so many people who were laid off, and suddenly I see somebody running a website company selling painted t-shirts, painted mugs. They had those talents, they did that as a part-timers, but now they're doing it full-time, and they have turned it around in span of 3 months. That's raking them money. So they're doing that. There is another individual, as I mentioned, was asked to leave, and because he was a chef, he started a home kitchen. He's like, if I can feed people out of hotel kitchen, why can't I feed people from my home kitchen? So with all security measures and all of that, and thanks to social media for that matter, because that's boosted all of these all of these ventures, homegrown ventures, which people would not have thought in long run that they could do all of this. They could be a business entrepreneur, they can get into a business. So now I think the culture of entrepreneurship will flourish, because people have to find a way, right? People have to figure it out what they have to do in long run. So you'll see a lot of untouched spaces where ventures will pop in, and we'll see a lot many happy faces. So I guess you just need to know what you need to have a. So as I tell this, I have a 5-year-old, and it's too small for me to talk to her about this, but I always tell her, you need to always have a second option ready. So it could be anything. You need to know, if you're good at painting, coloring, art, do that. If you're good at dancing, do that. If you're good in singing, do that. If you have music abilities, do that. Because then you're not dependent on one thing. You always have a fallback plan. So if you haven't done that, this is the time. Explore your hobbies, and put in your efforts what you like doing. and you have a reason. If things don't work after 6 months, when the market opens up, you can go back and say that there was a pandemic, I tried this, it's not that I didn't, and it didn't work for me. You again can fall back in job scenes. So job scenes will open. It's a matter of time. You just need to push your luck and push yourself, and make yourself available for all the possible opportunities. Now, because of this, you need to be, you can't be stringent to be in one location. You need to open yourself up, and be okay to take opportunities anywhere else, and which can which will shift your base from wherever you are. But at least you should be fluid in terms of working from different spaces and different states.
Okay, great. So we are going to now move to the next section, which is a fun section. I call it the quick hire and fire round, and we only need 1-sentence answers. So the first one, what is a definite hit with you, like a sure shot hire?
If I ask some question and if that question is not politically correct, I hire that person, because you know that that person can't fake it.
Okay, very nice. Brilliant perspective. What is a sure shot miss? Like you definitely fire.
Somebody who is extremely correct.
Okay.
That is, being correct all the time is not possible. So you're putting up a lot of faces in front of you. So that's certainly not right for me.
Interesting. And what's your favorite interview question?
Tell me 2 things about you which are not right, your development areas. So if somebody knows the shortcomings, then that person has a lot of perspective, and that person knows what he or she has to work upon. If that person is correct all the time, then that person is close to learning. So to identify that, if you have a learning ability, you need to know what are the shortcomings you yourself have.
Brilliant. It actually takes me back to my Monday motivation quote that I've posted today. I'll tell you about that soon. But literally what you just said, totally in sync. Priya, this was a fabulous interview. It's been amazing. Some really great clarity of how things work, what are the different kinds of employment also that one can look up to, and mainly to keep a great attitude and be patient and tap into those latent wishes, dreams, skills, capabilities. If there was one advice that you could give to any job aspirant across any level, only one advice, what would that be?
Smile through adversities, and be honest. So if there is something which has happened to you, be honest, because honesty will take you places in long run. Because if you fabricate something, or you put across a data which is not right, that will not leave a good taste with the employee. So it's very important that you be honest and tell the employer the truth, because your relationship with an employer is on trust. So if that breaks, then nothing can save. So it's very important that even if you have done something wrong in your career, if you accept it, that's accepted by an employer, prospect employer. But if you yourself not accept it and the employer gets to know through somebody else, he would surely not hire you. So you would rather be upfront and honest, and that will take you places.
Brilliant. That will help them build the trust. Amazing. So thank you. Thank you so much, Priya, for making this time and sharing all these amazing nuggets with us.
Thanks, Vinny. Thank you for inviting me to speak here. Thank you very much.